Kirby Smart, the Georgia football coach, with Frangie and Matt Hayes. How are you, man? Congratulations on all this enormous success.
Well, I appreciate it. It's comes with a great administration, a great university, a great fan base, and some really good players. So you don't get this success without some help.
But I will tell you, that's true, and I appreciate your humility there. But Georgia's waited a long time for this kind of a run. You know this. You're as Georgia a guy as there's ever been. What's it been like when you're in the community afterwards? And I know you got to focus on the next game at some point here, but enjoy this with us a little bit. What's it been like?
It's great. Not a lot's changed. You know, I go out to eat in Athens. I go out to eat in Atlanta. We're a very public family when it comes to public events because I don't hold back. You know, I go to sporting events and I go watch my kids play, and I just want to be out and about and be seen as a normal functioning member of the community and not make it about myself. And most people respect that, and they like, hey, Coach, I appreciate it. Good to see you. They say hello, and I think if you're approachable, it makes things easier.
So, Kirby, one of the things I think Nick never gets enough credit for is every year he got a team that either won the championship or close to win the championship to realize that the gold on top of the mountain this year is going to be even better. Right. How difficult is that as a coach to convince these guys, look, I know you won it, but trust me, this one's going to be even better?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's we don't sell it as the top of the mountain or the gold at the top of the mountain. We sell it as the next achievement, the next hurdle. And most kids in athletics embrace like what the challenge is, right? So you put a challenge in front of them, they rise to meet it. So the next challenge is this season. Who are we? What's our identity? Who are we going to be? Like last year's team had this great identity of fourth quarter, we're going to kick your ass. And it happened in the Missouri game, and it happened in the Ohio State game, and they were able to come back and rise to the occasion. I don't know that identity on this team, and I think we got to find that out.
Let's talk about this team a little bit. Stetson Bennett was so good for 2 years. We're in Jacksonville, a Jacksonville guy, and Carson now, I think, positioned to be the guy. He's got great competition. He's a great quarterback room. But tell us about Carson, his development, and tell us about that room a little bit.
Well, Carson excites you because he has a great arm talent. He's got great demeanor. He's very level-headed. He's not a emotionally high and low guy. Like you might say to me as a coach, man, coach is just up and down, and all the time I wear my kind of emotions on my sleeve. Carson's not like that. Yep. And as a quarterback, that can be a good thing because he handles the good with the bad and the bad with the good. And I'm excited to see what he can do this preseason camp and fight for the job. But he is certainly one of the most intelligent quarterbacks I've been around in terms of volume of information he can handle and the way he carries himself.
Let me ask you about this because he's really good. Brock Vanderwerf's really good. Gunnar Stockton's really good. That's a great embarrassment of riches. That's a good thing. But you got to manage that, too. You got guys that have been starters their whole lives. How hard is that to manage?
Well, it's the nature of the position, right? Like when you go to play quarterback, you accept that there's only one guy going to play, probably. Yeah. I mean, unless you got a two-quarterback system, there's only one guy going to play. And you understand that your job is to be prepared if you're not the guy, that you're prepared to be the guy in case something happens. And they're all working on a long-term goal to play quarterback at the next level. So we want them to be training towards that goal, not just the immediacy of I want self-gratification because I'm playing now.
Kirby, John Wooden once famously said, and I'm sure you've heard this, coach's best friend is the bench. Do you believe that philosophy when you start talking about how players play on the field, how they carry themselves off the field? Is it black and white, or is there a lot of gray area in there?
I don't know the exact question. Obviously, the part about the bench. Now, are you talking about
just in general? Is that the best way for you to think that you can get it through a young kid's head? You got to do the right things here. You got to do the right things here.
Right. You're talking off the field things, I guess.
No, on and off.
Well, no question that if you're not performing on the field, somebody else deserves the opportunity to find out what they can do. And the bench will wake a guy up, especially a guy that has started and gotten complacent. The quickest way to wake him up is replace him. There's no question about that. Now, when you refer to it in terms of a wake-up call for some off-the-field discipline action, absolutely. There's times where that's the best revenue for them is to say, you know what, you need to sit. You need to come over here and learn that this game can be taken away from you at the drop of a hat, and you better appreciate the game more if you can't learn to do the right things off the field.
How difficult is it to get into a young kid's head when you say that, though? I mean, does it take a couple times?
I think they don't understand until you take action sometimes.
Right.
You know, and the action can be all kinds of things. It can be punishment, it can be discipline, it can be education, but they certainly need it. We did. I did when I was that age.
Kirby Smart with this Georgia football coach. About 3 or 4 years ago we were doing this, and Atlanta or wherever it was, Birmingham, and I asked you, so Kirby, you think we're going to get to an 8-game? And you said, Frank, I'd rather wish us go ahead and go to 12. You're the first person I heard say that. I mean, I remember the interview, and you go, I said 12. I said, I think we're going to go to 8. He goes, nah, if we're going to do it, we might as well go to 12. Well, we went to 12. I've told people that story a lot of times, Kirby. Are you happy with it? You happy with where we're headed? 12-game playoff. I know there's one more year for. But
well, ask me what I'm ranked at the end, and I'll tell you whether I'm happy or not. So if I'm 13, no. If I'm 4, I want it to be 4. Everybody's about self-preservation. So how does it affect me?
Yeah.
And I've learned that in our world of football, we go sit in an SEC head coaches meeting. Every rule or everything that gets talked about is how does it affect me? And I don't think that's always best for football. Like, what is the best thing for football and the growth of the sport? And sometimes you got to think outside your own self-preservation.
Well, what do you think is the best thing for football, in your opinion?
I think it's hard to say because I would love to expand it and it be competitive and it'd be like some of the baseball model. They have all these teams and in basketball model they have all these teams. But if it leads to more blowouts, then it's going to get disinterest and people are going to question it. And I don't know that it will. I don't know that. I think it will create a lot of really good competitive games. The possibility of playing on campuses in the playoffs is really intriguing because you're going to bring all that environment and all that revenue to those small communities where most campuses are.
I love that it's 12, and I love that they're on campus.
A lot more of the unknown comes into play, right? I mean, you could be a couple plays away. You can get an injury. You have no idea what's going to happen in those 3 weeks there.
It will be interesting.
Kirby, how's the league now compared to you're an SEC guy? You grew up in the league. You played in the league. It looks like to me it's as strong as it's ever been. Some of the hierarchies changes a little bit. Florida's down, and this team's up, and this. But how's the league?
League's great. The league's as competitive as ever. I think every year you get a sampling or a lens of what our league is during the draft. Yeah. And when we continue to be the team with the most drafted players, putting the most first-rounders out, the NFL roster's littered with players from all of our schools, it's just the footprint that we live in is always going to be the richest in terms of football because of the high school football in the area. Kirby,
final one for us. Will you miss divisions, you think? You're an SEC guy. You grew up in this. Will you miss it?
It's different. I think as much as I'll miss it, I'll embrace the challenges and the new rivalries that will come with it and the getting to play more teams and the probably maybe better opportunity at parity. But the divisions is my history and it is what I know.
Kirby Smart, terrific run. And congratulations. Good luck on making it 3-0. Thanks, Kirby.
Thanks, guys.